Have you ever wondered what happens when a house refuses to let go of the people who once lived there? Tonight we step inside a house that breathes, that watches, and that takes lives. A house where death is not the end. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may change the way you think about the place you call home. It was supposed to be the perfect place. The house stood alone on a desolate hill, surrounded by nothing but mist and silence. The local townspeople called it the House of Death, a name that came not from mere superstition, but from decades of horrific events that had unfolded within its walls. James and Lisa, a young couple, were oblivious to its past. They had always dreamed of escaping the noise of the city and settling somewhere peaceful. When they found the house listed at an unbelievably low price, it seemed like fate. The realtor's warning about the property's history seemed like nothing more than a formality, a ghost story meant to scare off the faint-hearted. James had laughed, and Lisa had shrugged it off until they moved in. From the moment they stepped inside, something felt off. The air was cold, unnaturally cold for the middle of summer. Every step they took seemed to echo too loudly, as though the house was listening. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper, the kind that hadn't been touched in years, but it felt like they were being watched by eyes hidden behind the peeling paper. That first night, James woke up to the sound of whispering. He sat up in bed, his heart pounding, but Lisa was fast asleep beside him. The whispers grew louder, then stopped abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence. He told himself it was just the wind, but deep down, he knew it wasn't. The whispers had felt too real. The next day, Lisa discovered something strange. A door they hadn't noticed before, a small wooden door hidden behind a dusty curtain in the basement. It looked old, much older than the rest of the house. They tried opening it, but it wouldn't budge. Must be locked for a reason, Lisa said with a nervous laugh, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. That night, James had another unsettling experience. While getting water from the kitchen, he saw a figure standing at the edge of the hallway. At first, he thought it was Lisa, but when he called out to her, there was no response. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, shrouded in darkness, staring. James backed away, and when he turned to look again, it was gone. From then on, the house became more aggressive. Doors would slam shut on their own, and the once mild whispers became louder, more insistent, as if demanding something. Lisa started having vivid nightmares. In her dreams, she was trapped in the house, unable to leave. Every door she opened led her back to the same room, and in the corner of that room stood the figure James had seen. It never spoke, but its hollow eyes followed her every move. James began researching the history of the house and found chilling details. Every family that had lived there had met with tragedy. People had disappeared, only to be found dead inside the walls or under the floorboards. Some victims were never found at all, but their screams were said to echo through the halls at night. The small door in the basement? It had been sealed by the original owner, a man obsessed with death and the afterlife, who had performed dark rituals inside the house, hoping to open a gateway between the living and the dead. As James read more about the house, he realized the whispers they had been hearing weren't just noises, they were voices. And the house wasn't just haunted by the dead. It was alive, feeding on the souls of those trapped inside. The house didn't just kill people, it consumed them. Lisa's condition worsened. She became withdrawn, barely speaking and constantly staring at the basement door. One evening, James found her standing in front of it, her hand outstretched, trying to open it. "They're calling me," she whispered, her eyes glazed over, as if in a trance. James grabbed her arm, pulling her away, but it was as if the house had its hold on her. Desperate, James decided they needed to leave. They packed their bags and were ready to drive off when the car wouldn't start. The engine had been fine the day before, but now it sputtered and died. The house loomed behind them, almost as if it was daring them to try and escape. That night, the whispers returned, but this time they were accompanied by something else: footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps that echoed down the hallway. James and Lisa locked themselves in their room, but the footsteps grew louder, closer. Then, silence. The door creaked open. Standing there was the figure they had both seen in their nightmares. It was tall, with hollow eyes and a face twisted in a grotesque smile. It held out its hand, beckoning them to follow. Lisa, as if in a trance, began to move toward it. James grabbed her, pulling her back, but the figure's grip on her was stronger. It pulled her through the doorway, down the hall, and toward the basement. The whispers grew louder, now deafening, as the door to the basement slowly creaked open. James followed, his heart pounding, knowing he had to save her. But as he reached the basement door, everything went black. When he woke up, he was alone. Lisa was gone, the figure was gone, and the house was silent. For the first time since they had moved in, the house felt empty. But James knew better. The house had claimed another soul, and soon it would come for him. And that's the terrifying tale of the House of Death, a place that seems to hunger for the souls of those who enter. But what about you? Do you believe a house could truly be alive? Could you survive a night in a place like this? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chilling tale. Until next time, stay safe.